Hello, I'm Carol Woolton. I have been the jewellery editor with British Vogue for 20 years. I'm an author. I write about jewellery and the history of jewellery. And in my new book, The New Stone Age, I've written particularly about stones and crystals and the meaning of them in our life. And I've got some amazing images from the home of the great jewellery designer Ara Vartanian. From his home in Sao Paulo in the book. He grew up in a jewelry family in Beirut. He's had stones and crystals around him all his life. And I wanted to ask him a few questions about crystals and stones.
Well, amazing. Hi. So amazing, Carol. Thank you so much for having me here with you, chatting about this wonderful, wonderful topic, which became really part of my life since when my family came to Brazil when I was 1 year old. Brazil is it's a vast land full of minerals, crystals, and so it's been amazing to be able to grow up here.
Ara, what does stones mean to you?
The childhood memories, childhood memories. At a very young age, my family took me on a trip to Minas Gerais. I think where some children used to go to Disneyland, my parents took me to Governador Valadares and like the stone regions, and I was already having my collection of small stones and crystals just by just by their shapes and colors, and to know that they're naturally they come like this in the ground. After some thought, growing up, I realized they're a gift of nature, really. The beauties of nature, like waterfalls and trees and beautiful things that nature gives us. I think these rocks are part of them. Some with more intensity and some with less intensity. Hardness and brilliance play a big role in it. This is why when we are walking sometimes in a field and we see crystals or we touch them, they simply disappear in your hand. They're almost dust. The hardness they are and the intensity they are within colors, brilliance, this all make them more precious. And you feel like some of them you really want to keep them next to you.
Which stone's characteristics suit your temperament the best, and why?
Well, as being becoming a jewelry designer, because I was working with my family as a stone dealer before, and when I started designing, the stone that I used in my heart was an inverted black diamond. I say inverted because when I feel that the tip is pointing outside and with a pointy edge that protects you in some way, and everything has been always very intuitive with me with stones. So it's almost like they speak with, you feel and they speak to me in some way. How you choose them, how you touch them, how you hold them, everything has been intuitively. The only thing I can say really, it's how we feel, how they move you. How do you see a crystal there? You want to touch, you want to maybe give a bath to the crystal, you want to exchange light with the sun. You see a crystal inside for a long time, and maybe it talks to you that you need to put it outside and put some water to it, and and this will brighten everything that's around it. I think this is really how everybody relates to it in different ways. It's like when you look inside and you want to make yourself better. instead of looking outside. I think a crystal helps that. When you're looking at a crystal and you want to exchange that energy, I think it helps you.
If these crystals speak to you and the black diamond means something to you, what is the black diamond saying to you?
It's safe to go outside when I'm with them around me. You know, it's funny. In my years in London, when I was you know, doing my shop, and then I had this amulet, which is this one here, which I have, which I have 7 diamonds pointing out, and I have amethyst in the back, where it's so the amethyst is in the back. These are amethyst, and they're touching. They touch my skin. They touch my body, and the diamonds with the tip up, they are protecting me from any sort of energy that's coming towards me. So when you ask me what they speak to me, is I feel safe. Was a time that I was conquering a new space, being in London, opening my shop, very difficult moment, and discovering, meeting a lot of people, getting out of my comfort zone with this around my neck, with the ring that I have on my, you know, with this emerald that I have that's actually touching my body, and I wear it on my pinky. This was something that I learned through my astrologist in India, in Bangalore. She's like, Ara, you need to wear an emerald on your right hand, and it has to touch you.
I know you've got minerals placed around your garden. So how do you look after them when they're in your garden?
By feeling their presence, by touching them, by who comes to see me, being able to see them, touch them. I water them sometimes. Acknowledging them puts you off whatever you're doing and give you focus to them. That's them working on you. And so this exchanges, I think they're very, very helpful to you and to who's around you. Mm-hmm. Me as a young age, with my children, they came the other day running, both of them, Lily and Leona. They're like, Dad, look what we found. And they had little crystals on their hands, like one amethyst. I'm like, where did you find this? Like, Dad, by the pool, you know. I'm like, yeah, right, you know. They love playing with them, and you know, as they're natural, sometimes they drop little pieces, the large crystals, and you know, I find this beautiful. Reminds me of my own childhood. So I'm like, keep this well, you know, go water it and take care of it. So you know, by not doing anything, just exposing my children to crystals, and they already having an exchange by being playful, and they already have a little collection on their own, not by me giving it to them, but by them playing with them in the garden. So I think this is important. It's
And does it change the atmosphere in your home to have, I know you've got some big amethysts laid around, does it change the atmosphere for you?
Absolutely. I cannot see the space without, you know, it just gives me a lot of comfort, and give me a sort of a base, a strong base in the ground. So puts me in the ground. I think, you know, these objects, they're here hundreds and thousands of years before us. Before planets they existed. And so me, when I come between the respect I have for crystals, for minerals, for the stones, I have such a respect that I considered myself just the pedestal to these beauties that come from the earth. They're simply, I'm the designer. Since I've been designing, I've always considered myself just the person that does the pedestal for the stones, really. because they have hundreds of they have so much age, they have so much history, they've seen so much.
Which is the favorite colored stone that you put in your jewelry?
Well, that's an interesting question, because it really depends the day. It really depends of the day. There's the day that you want some Arizona turquoise. There's a day that you want the black diamond to be there. There's a day that you want, you know, the amethyst, or the tourmaline, the ruby light. So it's really the day, I think, to have that exchange, that you feel that something is special for us, maybe each time, to have that sensibility. It's a good exercise. It's all about exercise. It's all in our mind and senses. You have to be open to feel that.
I know you've just been visiting a lot of mines in Brazil. Was there one stone that you saw there that you wished you could have taken home with you?
Um, well, yes. There was actually there's a, well, I did see a beautiful ruby light on the nature. And the mine that I was the Cruzeiro mine. Is one of the most important ruby light mines in the world, and it's very artisanal, the way they mine it, and they do such an incredible work that they bring it back, how the crystals were in nature, how they were formed. So they have a research area which is the size of a basketball field, and super well lit, with with many desks with numbers, with little pieces. So it's a big, what they do is they put it back, because how the crystals they grow, it's they, in the ruby light, they reconstitute, they put that back together, like how it was when it first existed. And it's such a beautiful work. I would love to take one of those with me back home. And that place was so special to me, because I since a young age I'm claustrophobic. And when you speak going down to an artisanal mine 50 to 80 meters down below, when you're claustrophobic, that's there's one place you don't want to be: inside an elevator and inside a mine, you know. And Carol, after I go down 50 meters, I I started having the feeling of like a panic attack, and I just stopped by myself. They kept on going. There was one of the geologists with me, so a young guy, super knowledgeable about the about the topics we were discussing. And then we just started talking and discussing. All of a sudden, I'm I start finding comfort. I started finding comfort, and I said, you know what? After 20 minutes, I said, let's go down to 80 meters. I cured my claustrophobia inside the hole, with, you know, I mean, just by being, I think, around the crystals and knowing that everything is fine, everything is safe. And I worked my head, and I went down to 80 meters, and it was totally fine. So I think you have to be open to accept this.
That's an amazing
And
story.
yes,
Um, if you could give a stone to anyone, who would it be and why?
well, I think you know, I have a very good friend of mine. Her daughter was turning 16, and she had just broken up with her boyfriend, and was her birthday. And I was in London, and I I was going for her birthday, and I picked up in my shop in London. I have many stones from agates. I have a beautiful collection of agates to the different quartz and tourmalines, raw. So I picked up a pink quartz, And not, I didn't read anywhere about the pink quartz, but I picked up a pink quartz and I gave it. I wrote a card that, look, during the, if you have moments that you feel lonely, take the crystal, put it outside, then water it, put it in the sun, then put it next to you on your bed. I mean, I made a little ritual to her that I wrote in the card and I gave it to her. I have 2 daughters and I have a son. So, and you know, when you're 16, 15-year-old in your first relationship and you break up, you feel very lonely, you know. So I feel like by doing these actions of taking care of a crystal, and this is gonna help this girl. And few years later, she told me how this was the most amazing gift, you know. And so I feel like this, it gives you a hand. You keep it next to it. If you give love, you're gonna give you 100 times more back.
So was that Kate Moss's daughter?
Yes, this was Lila. This was Lila. Yeah.
It's a lovely story. So in fact, you give crystals to young people because it really helps them mature and grow and understand.
Absolutely. I do workshops in my atelier with children, with the art school of my kids. You know, I bring them to my atelier and I lay out different types of crystals and teach them that they come from the ground. And the eyes, it's like their eyes are, you know, they're focused, they're all quiet, they're all focused. Difficult to get a bunch of 6-year-old focused all in the same time. But stones, fire does that. When you put children in front of fireplace, they look at it, they stop. Stones they have the same power.